Ignition sequence starts. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Hey everybody, this is the Digital Asset Investor. I'm going to start this video off with a what I'd call a settlement update, like a timeline update from John Deaton. He did an interview with Link2. Let's watch this.
And I am currently working on XRP holders' amicus brief that'll be filed within a week. All the papers will be done and in front of the judge by, I think it's November 15th. And so at that moment, all papers are in. There's always a chance that some other amicus shows up. I don't know, but usually not. And we're just then in standstill of one of two things to happen. Either a settlement or the judge comes down with a ruling. Now, unfortunately, as you can imagine, 2 years of litigation, each brief is like 80 pages. And so there's like 5 of them. There's thousands and thousands of exhibits and deposition testimony and expert reports, all that stuff. No judge is going to be able to turn that around in a matter of a couple months. It's just not going to happen. And so the earliest, in my opinion, the very earliest is the end of March. I think it's much more likely that we see a result ruling from her in late April or May, unless there is a settlement. And a settlement could happen anytime.
Anytime. Settlement can happen anytime. That's a reminder, folks. Link2, you can get Ripple equity on Link2. If a settlement happens anytime, I would bet dimes to donuts you won't be able to get it anymore. There's a link to this at the top of the description of this video. Click on it. Tell them DAI sent you, and they are one of my sponsors. Whale alert, 100 million XRP. That's thumbnail worthy. 100 million, not billion or trillion, but 100 million XRP on the move from Ripple to an unknown wallet. All right, David Schwartz. This is interesting right here because I've never heard David Schwartz comment on this. He said, somebody says, "Don't you think unearthing corruption is the most important thing?" He says, "A year ago, I didn't think it was important at all because I didn't think it had any chance of changing anything and was focused on the past and not the future. My position has shifted slightly in the past few months, though." Well, folks, let me tell you this. One thing, since we've been uncovering all of this stuff, and I'll show you more of it in this video, since we've started uncovering all of this stuff, folks, make no mistake. You know, Brad Garlinghouse said never underestimate, he said something to the effect of never underestimate sleuths, Twitter sleuths or whatever. What I've said in this thing all along is never underestimate the pressure that can be created. Think about how many powerful and influential people in all of the different things that have been documents, nothing other than documents, timelines put together based on documents and their own words. Think about the people that were involved in those words and those documents and those timelines that do not want a spotlight on all of this, folks. Because you know what I think? I think a lot of the people in these timelines and a lot of the people in this story, they're used to this being just the way that business is conducted, but none of them. In other words, they're used to being able to do this kind of stuff for a living, but none of them. But when the spotlight's really shown on it, it shows just how dirty it really is. Dirty and borderline worse. And so never underestimate the pressure. Reminds me of the Billy Joel song, Pressure. Dun, 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 dun. Well, that's what I think all this is. And don't underestimate that, because those people, the kind of people that are under pressure in this thing are the kind of people that can pick up a phone and say, "Gary, you end this thing." Because we know Gary's just a toady. So all you got to do is put enough pressure on the person whose toady he is, right? All right. Moving along. Stuart Young is at it again. This is the guy that did the Freedom of Information Act requests and had gotten some information delivered up a while back. And he's doing another one. He's doing this time he's doing a Freedom of Information. Let's see, it's for records regarding SEC and third-party correspondence relating to Ripple and the XRP digital asset. That could be interesting. Then David Schwartz weighs in on this, which I was surprised by. David Schwartz, XRP Crypto Wolf said, David Schwartz is Satoshi confirmed. LOL, wouldn't be surprised if Satoshi is really one of these three-letter agencies. And David Schwartz, who used to be at this one or did contracting work for this one, he says it's not a terrible theory. If that happened, we don't talk about three-letter agencies on this channel. If that or that happened to stumble onto how to make Bitcoin, it might make sense that they would implement and deploy it to eliminate the risk that someone hostile to the U.S. would do it first and potentially made billions of dollars. There you go. That's from the man himself. Then this Matt Levin guy wrote a Bloomberg article called The Crypto Story. And all I did is I did a search for mentions of Bitcoin, Ethereum, and XRP. And once I realized that Bitcoin was mentioned 388 times, Ethereum 145, and then XRP or Ripple 0, I knew that they should just rename the story the Bitcoin Ethereum story, and that they were doing, once again, another media outlet was just carrying the Bitcoin Ethereum narrative as usual, and now I knew to ignore the article. Then we found out that the SEC communications is down this morning. WhatsApp has gone down, and we all remember this clip, don't we?
To potentially Republicans, winning the midterms, and then regulators like Gary Gensler in check.
Yeah, and there's a few things they can do. One is oversight, subpoenas of emails and such. Unfortunately, what we've heard is that there are staff at the SEC that are using apps like Signal and WhatsApp, like we do, to try to keep our communications private. They're doing the same thing to keep them private from.
So their communication system is down right now if WhatsApp is down, according to what he's saying he's hearing. Okay, Ripple is at Money 2020 in Las Vegas this week. James Wallace is going to be there. Thought that was interesting. Okay, here we go, folks. Get ready. Strap in. Everyone's starting to figure this out yet? Take a look at the Coinbase board, past and present, littered with people involved in the Ethereum Free Pass. Let's see if we can tie this all together for you, folks. Here we go. What you're listening to, this is a clip. Bob Way was one of the first 10 people at Ripple. He did a show with I don't know if he goes by CKJ now, but he calls himself Bullzilla. But he did a show with him back a few years ago. Listen to what Bob Way says.
It's a threat to our system. What do you think about that? The delay or the fund that comes out?
It's funny because I actually have written about this sort of extensively on XRP chat, so people can go dig that back. But that's all fine. There's some really interesting ways to analyze this, but then there's some other stuff that people don't know just because they don't go back to 2013, right? And so these are San Francisco companies. These companies are literally walking distance apart.
Exactly. Thank you, Bob.
Coinbase to Kraken.
I like where you're going with this, Bob.
Yeah. So, they're just like right there. So when Coinbase came out, these were Bitcoin maximalists at the time because there was only Bitcoin. There was Bitcoin, there were some other ones, but nobody's a Litecoin maximalist, right? Nobody's going, yeah, this Bitcoin thing is flash in the pan. The whole world's going to adopt Litecoin. That doesn't even make sense to people, right? So Coinbase came from the Bitcoin space, and there were some very early companies.
So they crossed each other at lunch on accident.
Yeah, BitPay, right? Coinbase. These were payment companies.
Exactly.
When they started, there weren't exchanges. They were like, how do you pay people in Bitcoin? The reason Coinbase, now these are my opinions, right? You can go back and read their press and see how they describe themselves.
Okay.
But originally, BitPay Bitcoin to pay them.
Okay.
There has to be a service that tells you what the dollar to Bitcoin price is, and will be that. And if they could make a spread and they could deliver the money and they can deal with the money transmission rules and they could deal with all that, there's a lot of money to be made. Now, what's a threat to that? Well, the rippling system itself, the part we don't all talk about, is exactly that, right? It completely, if you have that implemented, it's absolutely a threat to it's a secondary payment system that could replace the other payment system. So there was always a rivalry. At Ripple, everybody wanted the Coinbase guys to come on the Ripple network. They're open because we're a connection network. We want to connect everything together.
Exactly.
But from their side, they were much more competitive with Ripple because if you have their service, they also owned a lot of Bitcoin, right?
Okay.
That's what I mean as Bitcoin maximalists. They didn't come with empty pockets and just bring
All right. So now, against that backdrop, what I tweeted out was this. Remember this? JP Morgan CEO held secret meetings with Coinbase CEO. So let's write, that's definite thumbnail, secret meetings. All right. And just watch this. I'll just tie it all in a nice little bow for you. So there's the meeting. It was in 2018, secret meetings with him. Here's his board. Here's the Coinbase board of directors. That's Fred Wilson, Union Square Ventures, Mark Andreessen Horowitz. There's Katie Haun, who was the U.S. attorney who sued Ripple in 2015. Then later went to Andreessen Horowitz as a general partner, the same way that Bill Hinman did, right? Then you got this. Coinbase adds Mark Andreessen as board observer, replacing Chris Dixon, who's also Andreessen Horowitz. And you remember Chris Dixon. He's the guy that Jay Clayton met with at Andreessen Horowitz, and he appointed Chris Dixon to go and get the industry players together, which was Perkins Coie, Cooley McDermott, Will and Emery, Union Square Ventures, and Andreessen Horowitz, and they formed the Venture Capital Working Group. Their attorney, Lowell Ness, in his own words, said that he wrote the safe harbor thing that eventually became the Bill Hinman speech. Okay? Then we've got this. This is the Freedom of Information Act list of people who are communicating with Bill Hinman, which hopefully we'll soon find out what some of them had to say. A large percentage of them are the people from Union Square Ventures. There's Fred Wilson. There's Mark Andreessen. A lot of those people were talking to him. There's Lowell Ness. Chris Dixon's on there too. He's right there. Okay, a lot of those same people were the ones that were talking to Bill Hinman. And then there's this. Don't forget Tushar Jain. He's the guy that was going out bragging about how he was shorting XRP. He and his partner. Here he is right here.
Ripple Inc. provides that enterprise because Ripple Inc. is solely and predominantly responsible for marketing the Ripple products that use XRP. And
right, he was bragging about that, and he was also he was saying how he thought that XRP would be called a security. Here's him on Twitter replying to David Schwartz, or flipping the script. What's the incentive to run a dishonest validator? Tushar Jain says short XRP. Then here's his partner, where he's acknowledging, his partner acknowledges in this that Andreessen Horowitz is a limited partner in Multicoin Capital, their company. Don't take my word
News
for
this
it.
week, too. We have Andreessen Horowitz, one of the leading Silicon Valley
Look, it's Chris Dixon.
venture capital firms, opening their first cryptocurrency fund, $300 million they put.
And then he goes on. This is Kyle, whatever his name is. Let me see. I've got him right here. Samani, managing partner at Multicoin Capital. Chris Dixon is a limited partner at Multicoin Capital. And then we also found out that Union Square Ventures is also a limited partner at Multicoin Capital. And both of these guys were trotting around in 2018 talking about how they thought XRP was going to be called a security. And that's why they're shorting XRP. Okay? In the midst of all it, almost like little toadies. I mean, now I'm going to switch gears on you. And I wanted to show you this. Do I have time to show you this? I'll make time. This is Lynette Zhang, who's a very smart woman. She's talking about HR 9157 to define dollars a fixed weight of gold.
And so are they repositioning to back the dollar with gold. Now look, do not get me wrong. This was just introduced, and I think that it's fabulous. And it certainly lays out all of the reasons why they should do it. But they cannot do it until that mountain of debt is burned off in a hyperinflationary depression. It could be a hyperdeflation. Doesn't matter. They're really the same thing, just the flip side. There's only one way to fight inflation, that's with deflation. And there's only one way to fight deflation, and that's with inflation. So it makes it pretty simple. But what history also tells us is that when all confidence is lost in the currency, then what do? They put a component of gold back in that currency to get the public to trust it and use it once again. 100% of the time, over 4,800 times, this is exactly what's happened.
All right. And this always brings me back to this Dilip Rao clip.
So right now, the XRP ledger is a public ledger. It is really a ledger of liabilities. Mm-hmm. So what I mean by that is you can take money from somebody and issue a balance on the Ripple ledger. Mm-hmm. You can take gold, you deposit gold with somebody and you can issue a balance in gold on the Ripple ledger. So any kind of a liability that you have can be issued on the Ripple ledger. So right now.
So there's that, which brings us back to my sponsor, Glenn. I just bought some physical gold yesterday, folks. And I buy physical gold and I buy in my Glenn account so that I've got my spendable debit MasterCard. Link to this is in the very top of the description of this video. You can click on it and tell them DAI sent you. I'm the digital asset investor. I'm not an investment advisor. This is for entertainment purposes only. Please subscribe, hit the like button, and tell your friends and family that I forgot to mention I won my fantasy football game yesterday, or last night was the last game of the NFL for this week. I won. I'm in like 4th place right now. That's a random.